Welcome to GlassTalk, Canada's podcast for the architectural glass industry. Now here's your host, Patrick Flannery.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. Pat Flannery coming at you here again. And today I have with me Steve Ness. He is the president and CEO of the Surety Association of Canada. Steve, how are you?
I'm great, Pat. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. And my mission here today is to try not to look too stupid. I've we're going to be talking about performance bonds and sureties. And my knowledge of that is, I think, as I said before, limited to some presentations I've had by construction lawyers at industry events, and beyond that, I'm in the weeds. But I think I'm not alone, maybe in that, and so maybe this is an opportunity to get some people up to speed on things. And of course, what occasioned all of this was a note that came across from your organization talking about this earth boring case, and I guess there was some controversy over whether this constituted a problem for the whole performance bond structure or not. And we can I'm going to get you to explain all that. But before we get going, Steve, why don't you just introduce yourself and your background, and tell us a little bit about the Surety Association of Canada.
Sure. I've been around for a long, long time. Hate to say 45 years in the business. I usually say I started when I was 6 years old, but nobody believes that anymore. I've been with the association. Actually, I was one of the founders of the association, been with it now for 31 years.
Wow.
And the association itself, we're the national trade advocacy group for the surety industry nationally, all 10 provinces and the territories. And we do what any advocacy group does. We advocate, we educate, we represent the industry's positions and explain the industry to people who may not understand it.
Great, great. Yep. And for those who are possibly very new to this, what is a surety? What is the definition of a surety?
The simplest definition, it's a guarantee
Right.
where one party guarantees the obligation of a second party to a third party.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
That makes sense. Yep. And the way that we might as well go through some of the terms that are probably going to come up here, because I know some of them were a little bit unfamiliar to me. And then those guarantees are made in construction for the most part through a performance bond. Is that correct?
that's the performance bond is one of our, I guess, our flagship instruments. That's right.
Right. Okay.
And it's a great illustration of the concept, the guarantee. If you want to talk about surety jargon, you have the principal,
Mhm.
which is the contractor.
Mhm.
And they enter into a contract with, say, a public owner, a municipality or whatever. That municipality would be called the obligee in the surety world. So the surety, and that's the third party, we guarantee the contractor's obligation to the municipality, the obligee. And if that contractor fails, like if they default on the contract, if they go insolvent, if they disappear, walk away, then the performance bond steps in and the surety arranges for another contract and contractor and pays the bills. Shortfall. That's in its simplest terms.
Okay, that's great. So let's use this case that I guess touched everything off as maybe an entree into some of these issues. The earth boring case. What went on there, and why was this important in the bond world?
Okay. Well, again, I'll simplify it as best I
Simplify as
can.
much as you can, please.
The earth boring was a contractor. It was a group of contractors, and they had various bonded projects. And they sought protection under the CCW insolvency protection. They became insolvent.
Okay.
couldn't meet their bills. And that's when usually a performance bond gets invoked. That's when the surety will usually move in, because it usually means if someone's insolvent, they can't continue.
Right.
There's a padlock on the door, a sheriff's note taped to the
The
inside
work
window,
stops.
gone, finished.
Hmm.
Wasn't the case here. Here you had a, a contract that was technically insolvent, but they were still operating.
Oh,
And of the bonded projects, there were eight of them. Seven of them were proceeding, and um, there were no problems reported on them, no anomalies. Everything was going well. So, under the bankruptcy laws, you can seek protection from creditors. And the lender said, okay, we'll keep going. We'll try and keep this going, but there has to be a stay on any creditor moving in, because you don't want to create a run on the bank. And that includes, of course, the performance bonds. It was a stay at the contractor's behest, and the lenders supported it to say, okay, no claims on the performance bond for a fixed amount of time while the company gets its ducks in a row, marshals its resources, and finishes those projects. And as a result of that, the court order came down that codified this, and a lot of people started bouncing off a lot of walls. People who probably should have known better. Because what you had here, by the way, the surety was supportive of this. They didn't object because they could see that this was going to proceed toward really what everybody wanted. People want that project completed expeditiously.
hmm.
And so the surety said, okay, we're with it. By the way, one of the in all the angst and excitement, there are two bonds that go with construction. One is that performance bond. The other is a labor and material payment bond.
Right.
And by that, the surety agrees to pay all the unpaid trades and bill when someone goes insolvent. The stay only applied to the performance bond, not the payment bond. So the surety was paying the bills of those trades, unpaid trades and suppliers, which meant, of course, that they would continue working on the project, which would further facilitate the completion of the job.
Right. If anything, that was helping.
That was helping.
Yeah.
And so I guess the point that I made in the article that you refer to, this was not a surety trying to evade its responsibilities. This was a surety trying to help the owner get what the owner really wants, and that is their job completed most expeditiously.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, or what is continuing to happen in earth boring. And I'll give you an example that illustrates. And this is when it went the other way. And I'm going back in history a little bit. It's about 10, 11 years ago. Another very high profile insolvency. In this case, though, the jobs weren't coming back. This was what I call a crash and burn situation. There was no way to resurrect those jobs.
Okay.
And the bankrupt contractor, actually their trustee, and I believe the lenders, also had a stay put on. And in that case, the surety objected vehemently to it, because here there was no way to get those jobs back running. And the law in a case like that, if that job's not coming back, the longer a surety waits to get involved and uh, get to fixing up those jobs, the
Mhm.
more expensive it's going to become, because contract balances all start to disappear as time goes by and other creditors come in. So the surety fought it like a tiger. They were actually successful. The stay lasted in that case 4 months, and then the surety was able to move in. And by the way, the surety during that stay, they were getting ready, they were preparing. Once the stay was lifted, they were back on site within 4 days.
Wow.
But it was that's where the opposite occurs, where an surety doesn't want to stay, is when the job can't come back.
Right. Makes sense. And the one of the important points you made, I think, in this case, the earth boring case, was that all the parties were in agreement on this. I mean, if this was a case of someone trying to evade something or not pay for something, um, you would have there would have been a dispute. But I think the reason that the judge issued this stay now the so I mean what you're referring to or what your article was in response to was there's been some lawyers out there saying, well, this is a precedent, this is setting some kind of precedent that performance bonds are not necessarily enforceable. Tell me why that's wrong.
Well, I mean, in the first place, it's not a precedent. States have been put on performance bonds before, just like that case I told you, but that goes back to 2013.
Hmm.
Uh, More importantly, though, the performance bond is enforceable. All a stay does is hit the pause button,
Right.
saying, okay. And in fact, this stay, I think, was from the time it was placed, it expired on August 15th. And unless it was renewed, and I haven't heard, it may yet have been renewed, I don't know, but it's a temporary pause. The
Yeah.
performance bond isn't gone. What happens is everybody stands back, we let the jobs continue. Now, if it failed, and if you do get a big crash and burn, the project owner, the obligee, still has the full protection of the performance bond. So it's not, you're not losing your protection under the performance bond.
And it's very, very common. Every insolvency proceeding I've ever looked at, there's always initially some sort of pause, some sort of delay on all the creditors rushing to get their money out. They always do that to give the parties a chance to restructure, find a solution.
Yeah, well, the whole purpose of the CCAA is to get some protection from creditors, not necessarily to keep the business going, but at least to consolidate the resources. Now, at some point, the company may be liquidated. You'll get the CRA coming in, you'll get the secured creditors and the unsecured in a liquidation situation. That's what would likely happen.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, in this case, we're not, at least initially, looking at a liquidation. They may yet observe or emerge from the CCAA protection with a new
And
lease
be
on
able
life.
to
That's
be
what
able
we're
to keep
hoping for.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, could happen. Just as a matter of curiosity, what is this project that Earth Boring is working on?
There were eight of them in total.
Okay.
One of them, by the way, was a job that wasn't coming back, and that wasn't subject to the stay.
Okay.
Seven of them were.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
there are various things around the province.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay. I get it. I just wondered if it was something high profile that we should know about. So that's an interesting case. The other one thing that came up when I was reading well, actually it was the lawyers, I don't know, lawyer white paper, whatever that you were responding to. They had the example in there of when Hudson's Bay Company was going down, and the mall, all the other tenants in the malls had clauses in their leases saying, well, if Hudson Bay goes out, we get out of our leases too, and the courts put a stay on that
Right.
to say, you're gonna wipe out this mall. There has to be some breathing room for some other solution
That's
be arrived
exactly
at,
right. I
right?
mean, it avoids, what they call the run on the bank syndrome,
Right,
where
right.
the vultures just come in and you could
Yeah.
have a potentially salvageable situation, and the vultures descend and there's nothing left in the carcass. It's
Yeah.
uh, so
Yeah,
this
the whole purpose at least the highest level purpose is to have the projects go forward, and people not to limit the damage of one
right,
of the contractors going down to just that, and not
right, and that's exactly what we said. I mean, if you're a project owner, if you've hired earth boring or whoever,
Mhm.
and the projects are going well, and then the contractor comes to you and says, I'm insolvent. As soon as you get over your nervous breakdown, ask yourself, what do you want to happen? And what you want to happen is, I want my project, I want it finished as I contracted for, as expeditiously as possible. And that is what we think is happening here, or that's the objective of what's happening here. Hopefully it will become that.
Yeah, because getting that project done is where the big money is at.
Well, and that's what everybody wants. That's
Yeah,
the
like
whole
extracting a
purpose.
pound of flesh from the contractor that went out is not, that
Right. That's
doesn't do it for you.
that's the bond is there if it has to be there.
Yeah,
But the whole purpose of the thing is, you want it as expeditiously as possible. And let's say it had gone the other way. Let's say, I don't know, take another example where you have a crash and burn. The surety has to move in. The surety then has to go out and get another contractor, arrange for pay all the trades and get a new contractual arrangement with the owner. That takes time. And there will be delays. I always caution project owners that if you have a full-on failure, there will be delays
yeah,
because the bond isn't a magic lamp. It can't
no,
make time stand still. So
yeah, absolutely. It's not a case of, well, the surety just steps in and everything continues.
right.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be there's going to be more to it than that. So all that good stuff said about sureties and performance bonds and everything else, the anecdotal feedback I get from the sub trades is they hate them, they're scared of them, and they would like to not have to ask for them, not have to get them, not have to pay premium for them, et cetera, et cetera. Um, uh, Give me the other side. Give me the other side of that argument. Why should a sub trade working on a larger project be at least accepting of the idea that maybe there'll be a performance bond there that they might be subject to and have to pay some premium for.
Just to clarify, you're talking about a subtrade that's being asked by a general to post a bond to them to
Yeah,
guarantee their performance. Okay.
yeah.
Um, to the subtrades, it's a pain in the neck.
Hmm.
And I wish I didn't have to, and I get all that. Um, and if the world was a perfect place, they'd never have to, because no one would ever fail. And yeah, and by the way, we still get that even among public owners. Well, this guy couldn't possibly fail. And I always respond that I wish I had a penny for every one of the billions of dollars that sureties have paid out on contractors that couldn't possibly fail. Because unfortunately, failures do happen. And generals will often ask, particularly among key subtrades, to post a performance bond and payment bond to protect themselves. What happens if that subcontractor is a key component of that project, right on the critical path, and they crash and burn on you? That can blow your whole project out of the water. And so that's why they're called for among subcontractors. And really, it's the same reason it's called for from general contractors. In Ontario, it's the law on public project. You have to have performance and payment bonds. And it's because people fail. Wish it weren't so. Give you a horror story in Western Canada. Uh, there was a big wastewater treatment plant, and this was a contractor could never be any problems with.
Too big.
And bad things happened. There was no insolvency. The contractor was a very large, reputable contractor, but uh, big issues happened about the scope of the project, whatever. I won't get into all the details, but contractor's gone, either left or was thrown out. And of course, they didn't need a bond from this guy. And what they wound up getting was I think I'm not sure of this, but I believe they had a letter of credit in the amount of something like $50 million. Well, the shortfall on that project is at last count $2.86 billion.
Oh my God, $50 million on a wastewater treatment
Yeah,
plant? That's
well, and that was
scratching
the
the
project. They had $50 million. If that, I'm not even sure about that. That's the part I don't know. But I do know that the shortfall was something like 2.86 billion.
Oh my goodness.
And residents of North Vancouver now have all been told that their tax bill is going to be increased over the next 30 years to pay for that shortfall.
Wow, I think I heard something about that. That's yeah, I heard about that going down. That's the kind of thing that bankrupts municipal governments.
Well, and and any owner that said, "Well, we don't need a bond," I relay that story and I end it with the question, "Do you want to be next?"
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So that's why they're called for. I mean, and it makes our life a little miserable because when you're starting, when you go into a project, the last thing you think about are bonds and the failure. It's not going to happen. I mean, that's the other thing here. We've known these people for years. Well, it's always the people you've known for years because most defaults happen because of insolvency, something that has nothing to do with that bonded job.
Yep.
And so the whole world comes crashing. Now, you don't think about it going in. And I always tell owners, you never think about bonds until you're forced to. And when you're forced to, it's all you think about.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. There's another thing that's on the I guess on the other side of it would be construction liens,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
Where the subcontractor is right placing their, I don't know what you would call it, interest in the project itself in case
right.
it ends or
They're
goes away,
leaning the project. And
putting a lien on the project. Um, there's something else that seems beneficial to the subs, um, um, but people are extraordinarily reluctant to get involved in unless they, are sort of forced to or
yeah,
are very nervous about a thing. What's the matter with that system?
well, I don't know that there's anything the matter with it. The construction lien is a mechanism in law. In fact, the Construction Act of Ontario used to be called the Construction Lien Act.
Yep.
And that will allow anyone who has a financial interest in that project, like if you supply sheet metal, right, and you don't get paid, you can't go back in the project and rip out all your sheet metal.
Yeah.
And so this allows a subtrade like a sheet metal or mechanical contractor to protect their own interest in the bond. They'll put a lien on the project. Now, while there's a lien, the project can't be sold. You can't advance funds on it or anything else unless you have the lien vacated. We have other instruments that can do that called lien bonds, and that stands in place of the lien until the lien action is heard. When the lien action is heard, if they do find in favor of that subcontractor, then they are due the money. The money is usually taken from the holdback funds and or the lien security, which the lien bond or the money paid into court to uh, make that mechanical contractor whole or as whole as they can be. One of the problems is that it takes a while and you don't always recover 100 cents on the dollar. In fact, you rarely do.
Right.
And that's why we always point out that a labor and material payment bond in the amount of 50% of the project amount, that's going to cover pretty much everybody at 100 cents on the dollar. Plus, it gives you real money in real time.
Hmm.
You don't have to wait for a court to hear it or anything else. So it's I mean, the lien remedy is still there, and it is still used. But they kind of go hand in hand with the payment bond. Does that make sense, or did I answer your question?
Absolutely. That no, that's. I mean, I've wandered off into another topic here, but the, but I do that.
They're all related, I guess.
They're all related, aren't they? So that was interesting. There's a mechanism by which you can have the lien, so the project owner can now sort of regain control of the property, be able to sell or borrow against it and all the rest of it, even though there might be a lien active against it because the surety takes.
Well, I'll tell you what will typically happen if you have a labor and material payment bond on the project. Um, the contractor, like let's say an unpaid subtrade, a mechanical contractor, hasn't been paid, places a lien on the project for the amount that they're owed. But there's a labor, they will also put a claim on the payment bond. Now, what will happen is the surety will go in, they'll look at all the documentation and say, yep, okay, you are owed that money. We'll pay you what you owed out of the payment bond funds. However, we want to take an assignment of your lien.
Okay.
So the subtrade will sign their lien to the surety, and the surety will get the benefit of it, to the extent from the whole back again. The surety doesn't get a hundred cents on the dollar back, but the surety takes assignment, and the subtrade's happy. They got all their money from the bonding company through the payment bond.
So that's interesting because a lot of the reason subtrades don't pursue liens is because they're afraid of alienating the project owner. Uh,
Yeah,
you know,
and we hear that a lot, Pat. And I don't want to rock the boat is probably a phrase I hear a
yep,
lot.
yep,
And for the same reason, a lot of them won't claim under the payment bond,
yeah,
and they don't want to advance that claim. And a couple of my claims adjusters over the years have all told me that they've gone in where they received subtrade claims for like 3, 4 years after the fact, when everything's long gone. The payment period on the labor and material bond, the suit period has expired. There's nothing left. And they said to the subcontractor, why the hell didn't you claim earlier when you had all that at your disposal? And
well,
that's the answer they give out. I don't want to rock the boat.
I was waiting to see if I was going to get any more business out of the guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, and I've always said that, business 101, there's no such thing as a good customer that doesn't pay you.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't get it, but um,
that's a very good point. What relationship are you protecting here, really?
right, yeah, I mean,
The guy who's not going to get you to work for free again?
yeah, and,
The guy.
that a lot of cases it's a case of simple insolvency that the contractor
Yeah,
can't pay, right? They don't have the money. There's no cookies in the cookie jar. But
yeah.
some cases you get these bad actors who just like to string subcontractors along and not pay them. And fortunately, the prompt payment provisions in the Construction Act here in Ontario have done something to alleviate that. It does require people to pay on time. If not, you can have it adjudicated and so on. So we're big supporters of prompt payment everywhere
I'm so
because
glad you
it
brought
really
that
helps
up
money.
because yeah, I mean that was my only prior contact with most of these issues was in the Ontario Glass Association, the Ontario Glass and Metal Association (OGMA) was a big proponent of that too, and I that was my first contact with the whole thing, and you know. There's the contractor going insolvent and not being able to pay, no cookies in the cookie jar, as you say, and then there's these guys that just drag things out, months and 120 days, 240 days, like just going on and on without paying, and again. The trades are fearful to activate their liens, to activate their, to go through these other mechanisms to get paid. What are you seeing out there, Steve? Since that was passed, is it your sense that that's improved the environment that people are there's less
Yeah,
wrangling
in
about payment?
Ontario, I would say yes. I mean, one of the objectives of bringing in prompt payment was the hope that it wouldn't have to be invoked that often, that it would just drive better behavior. And, we've seen, since the act was brought into force, I think it was, the prompt payment portion happened, I think, in October of 19.
Mhm.
Uh, the sense I'm getting, and remember on the surety side, we're a couple of steps removed
Little,
from it,
yeah,
so we don't get to see it all, but just from the feedback I'm getting, it has improved.
good.
Not the case, not so the case in some other jurisdictions I've heard,
Yeah,
but in Ontario, yes.
yeah, yeah, the good folks of BC seem disappointed in
Well,
their.
BC ain't got there yet.
Oh,
They're
they
working
haven't done it
on it
yet.
now.
Oh, okay.
Alberta has,
See,
Saskatchewan
that's what I'm
has,
thinking of. Yeah.
and in my opinion, this is possibly a subject for a whole different podcast, but uh, both Saskatchewan and Alberta messed it up royally.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
they didn't go about it the right way. Ontario was the first,
Mhm.
and they took 2 years to study it, see where the pressure points were, and came up with a solution that, in fact, the initial recommendation report was called striking the balance. And that's exactly what it did. It balanced things out. It solved the problem. It didn't just redistribute the grief that comes from not solving the problem.
Mm.
And it's not Ontario's, it's not perfect, but it's the best there is.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of other jurisdictions said, well, if it's from Ontario, it can't be good. But they got to do it their way. And to their detriment, and I realize that not all provinces are Ontario. If you're Saskatchewan, you don't have the same all the same commercial realities that you have in Ontario. Get that. But should have had a better look at what Ontario did.
Well, I love the arbitration mechanism that Ontario put in.
The
That
adjudication.
yeah, sorry,
Mm.
arbitration adjudicate. Yeah, whatever. They have a yeah. I mean, it made when I initially read that decision, I just went, well, that makes all the sense in the world. Get the parties down in front of a mediator and have them, figure out how the money can flow and everything can continue until it's
And
all.
quickly. That's the key, quickly. And
Yeah,
the adjudication is fast tracked. I mean, you get a ruling 28 days,
yeah.
and as opposed to dragging it out months and months and months down the road. So that's it I think it is accomplishing what it's set out to do, and that's to stop this nonsense of dragging people out. If you aren't paying someone, they can bring you to adjudication, and now you have to make your case to an adjudicator, and if you don't, you owe the money.
That's it. No,
Uh,
that just makes and without taking away your ultimate right. I mean, if your ultimate right to go to court and have all your
that's
battles,
right.
that's all still there. It's
That's right.
just that for now, you don't
Yeah,
get to just cut them
it's
off.
a temporary, you owe the money until, like, you can challenge it, you can have a judicial review of it after the fact.
Yeah, yeah.
But uh,
But
if
I
you
bet that happens so rarely. I that
um
like once the adjudicator has said that this is how I think it ought to be.
that's right.
Like so now you're going to
I
judge.
know in Ontario it has happened, and when we brought it into Ontario, we didn't have much experience to go on, so we looked at what they have in the UK. And the UK, they've had it for years and years and years. And there, I spoke to one of the surety people I know in the UK, and they said that initially what happened is that there was judicial reviews. Now it hardly ever happens. You very rarely hear about it, and it evolves into that.
And any judge is going to sit there and go, the adjudicator is not a dummy, and they already found. I mean, the adjudicator's decision is going to have a lot of weight, at least in the background in the judge's mind. I
Yeah,
think. I mean, I think you'd have to be
yeah, that's generally true. I
unless
mean,
there's actually a legal some very
well, that's right. Sometimes they can err or make
yeah.
errors in law, I suppose, which uh, what are you going to do? It will be overruled, and so be it.
But most of it doesn't even come down,
No,
again,
most of the
it
time it's
doesn't even
not.
come down to law. It comes down to, well, he didn't do that, and he did, and the other guy's saying, well, I did do that, and you didn't do that. It's stuff like this, right? So that's, anyways. Steve, great discussion. Uh, so bottom line, performance bonds are alive and well, and still a thing. They are enforceable as a trade or a contract as a sub trade. You should go ahead and activate them if needed, or I should say that they can be activated, they can be used. They're not going anywhere, and that's really the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll add to all this is, just a step back. And it goes to something you said off the top about not being familiar with bonding and how it all works. And trust me, you're not alone. Our value proposition, what we bring to everything, it's not that easily understood. I mean, we've also, one of our biggest challenges these days is trying to describe the benefit of bonds in 280 characters,
Yeah.
which is very difficult. And yeah, I get that can be difficult. In this particular case, though, a lot of the people that were making all that noise, as I said, were people that should know better, people that are or should be familiar with what bonds bring to the picture. And the fact that they didn't is disturbing to me, and it suggests that maybe we've got more work to do and maybe have to approach it in different ways. I don't believe, like I know personally some of the lawyers, the law firms who made those claims, and I don't believe it was maliciously intended. They just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And that's what I find more disturbing, is that people who really should know don't.
Even big, experienced law firms can have young lawyers who get very excited about certain issues and the possibility of some sort of precedent being set. Maybe something like that's going on. I don't know. I'm not impugning any of the authors of any of the papers that are out there. I have no idea who
Oh,
these
no,
people
no.
are.
And
But as you said, it is possibly a little odd given I take your position on it. And talking about them knowing better, well, they must know something, because I'm telling you, try to wade through the legalese in these documents. I mean, that's why I've got you on here, Steve, because holy moly, your brain could melt trying
yes, it
to
will.
trying to extract the meaning from some of this stuff. It's pretty dense. So again, thank you very much for joining me, Steve. If people have questions, if they want to know more, if they want to learn more about all of these sorts of things, where do they go? Who do they talk to?
Surety Association of Canada, our website is suretycanada.com. You'll right on there, they have a list of people like me, my email, phone number, contact information. I always say, contact me anytime, call me because I get lonely. Happy to chat with you.
Let's all relieve Steve's loneliness and ask him all our questions about surety and bonds. He is Steve Ness. He is the president and COO of the Surety Association of Canada. Steve, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks for listening to GlassTalk. You can find this episode at glasscanadamag.com or on the major podcasting services. GlassTalk is a presentation of Glass Canada Magazine and Annex Business Media.